morning, everybody. Happy new week. I hope you're doing amazing. I am here with one of my recently published authors of book one and also working on book two, Chuping Yu. Good morning.
Good morning, Nat.
Lovely to see you today. And I've been waiting a little while to interview you on this book because before we know it, the second one book will be out, and I can't wait to talk about that one as well. But before we begin anything official and talking about the content of the book, I would love to share with everybody who you are, so that we can do a proper introduction and then go on to the awesomeness and some of the stories you're going to share with us this morning. All right, so you guys, writing a book for Chuping's was it Chuping's intention to pass on her legacy. Dim Sum Stories from the Heart is exactly how she's doing that, and there'll be a second, as I said, installment to that. She wants to embody her funky granny persona. She's applying the takeaway, shedding the fears that have held her back, and putting the fun back into her life. Her short stories are memories of overcoming diversity to achieve her goals. Her writing has been influenced by self-help books such as You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay and Chicken Soup for the Soul. She also identifies herself as a holistic artist, massage therapist, healer, and a food detective with almost 40 years of experience teaching adult cooking classes, a skill developed from her passion for eating. Her multimedia artworks have been exhibited, showcasing her as a Jill of many trades. She has realized that her methodology, born from personal growth and self-love, is not always conventional, but it has all allowed her to become a published author. This young at heart spring chicken is bursting with potential ideas and opportunities, all delivered with a distinctive Kiwi accent. Her motto remains, if she's not having fun, she is not doing it right. Awesome. All right, Chuping. So tell me,
Thank you for that.
you're welcome. You're welcome. I mean, you and I met, what, a couple of years ago now?
Oh, more than that now. It must be 3.
Yeah, I don't know. I think sometimes you think it's a lot longer because you felt like it took a while to actually complete the first project, but you got there, you actually have, surpassed some of your buddies even that were at that retreat. So congratulations. But before that, how long had it been that you wanted to write a book? Talk to me about your little history of building up to actually finally doing it.
Oh, for years, probably 20-something years, I had this passion. I think, I'll write a cookbook. And I started with recipes as I was traveling, and as I come across a different recipe in Greece, I'll do my Chuping tweak to it and make it mine. And but closer to reality, I felt cookbooks are much harder these days. You've got so many professionally written cookbooks by famous master chefs, and I really wanted to write my memoirs down that's related to food. So I've linked the two, and
Yeah.
I use my life stories to express who I am.
Beautiful. And you're quite a character, which I love that. And yes, the dim sum is the food part of it. And then stories from the heart is,
Can I say that dim sum translates to point to the heart? And that's why I chose it. Not so much about just the food, it's about pointing to the heart. And the research I did behind the etiquette of pointing to the heart.
Beautiful.
It was wonderful. And writing a book makes you grow as a person, makes you find out who you truly are.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell me a little bit more about that. I have a famous quote that I've been saying for 10 years, that writing your first book is not about the book, but it is about the person you become at the other end of it. What has that meant for you? Like, what do you feel has happened for you once you held it in your hands?
Yes. Well, it's like I never thought that I could do that. And it's still sometimes I think, did I really do it?
And then you read it and you go, is that really my life, or did I really write it?
Oh, well, and I've chosen a quick story from it that I'll just talk about. Is about feel the fear. And that's what been my biggest motto in life, is that fear can actually paralyze us from making any movement. But it doesn't matter making a decision is a major factor with lots of people. It doesn't matter whether it's right or wrong. The fact that we move and make a decision blocks us, it keeps us moving forward rather than we feel blocked and stuck and we don't know which way to go. It's like, I still occasionally go, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. What
Yeah,
shall I do today? Because sometimes it's the spontaneous of going with the flow. If it doesn't matter if it doesn't work out exactly what you want, you ended up, what you lose on the swing, you gain on the roundabout, so to speak.
I love that. I love that. Is there an example of a time when you felt fearful, and is there a story there that talks about that? Do you want to share that?
Oh, it's not so much fear, but yeah, I just a paragraph here. I remember my first day at high school where I lived in New Zealand in my early teens. We were dressed in our togs, swimsuits, and told to line up and then climb up the steps and plunge off the diving board. I did not recall being asked if I knew how to swim or anything. I just want to fit in and do what everybody else was doing. All the while forgetting I had no idea that I had a fear of heights, and most of all, I didn't even know how to swim. And that's important fact was overlooked somehow in my naivety and my exploration and need for trying out new things and a sense of adventure. And that's how I like to say I live my life a lot of the time, is that, no idea. I arrived in Greece. I didn't speak the language, but I learnt a few words and went sort of backpacking all over the place, and they used to call me the little Chinese Greek.
I love it. I love it. So you've traveled quite a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, and some of the stories throughout the book. So maybe tell us what else, other kinds of stories have, what will people get from picking it up?
Oh, well, a sense of maybe not just I'm exposing who I am, but I hope it identifies with their own feelings and how they lived life, is that my approach might help other women to think, well, it is a bit fearful, but if she could do it, maybe I can do it.
Yeah. And
Because I've also tried different mentors, but sometimes, you just got to click with them. I sort of came across a very young American with such a fast talker, and the hours were crazy. I had to get up and Zoom
oh
at 10
yeah,
a.m. in the morning, and
I've
I
done
just
that.
can't do that. Yeah, I know, yeah.
And I've
And
done programs, and I've given up very quickly. I've just kind of relied on my own resources to listen to recordings, like, because it truly is middle of the night, isn't it? 2, 3
yeah.
a.m. Yeah.
Yeah, and look, maybe 10 years ago I could do it, but
Mm,
certainly not so much these days. And I'm at an age, I'm not saying, I acknowledge that I'm young at heart, but in order to get the distance, if I go out one night, I can't go out 2 nights in a row. So I know how to look after myself and try to get
yeah.
some decent sleep and sort of balance out. So to last a distance. In the past, I used to be out every day and have the energy. I have a friend I hang out with that he volunteers for everything under the sun. He's out every night. He never is at home, and we're just totally opposites. But it's like he's drags me out, and I said, oh, I'll just invite him to come and eat with me and watch a movie, because sometimes we need people that are opposites in our lives to give us that balance. That's what I find. And
Right.
living here in Australia, I chose to come here at a drop of a hat. I decided within 24 hours on a visit, because I just had a sense, that gut feeling, this is where I was going to grow myself as a person.
Yeah.
And I did it because I had this passion for singing. I came for a big birthday party, 70th birthday party, and since then I turned 72, and heard only 6 members of the choir of Hard Knocks
Oh,
sing. I'm actually wearing
oh
wearing
yes.
wearing it to today, just to,
Nice.
yeah, to embody that as well. And I just knew that I just want to be here. And I uh, went home, and it took me about 6 months to finish off my teaching night classes and pack up everything, give things away, sell it to come here. And during my earlier years here, I was a bit homeless because it's so hard to get my foot in the door living with other people. You're either too young or too old or fitting in,
Yeah.
and if you haven't got a rental history, it took a while, but I managed to fake it too.
Make it to make it, right? I love
Yeah.
it. How long have you been in Australia now?
Oh, nearly since early 2008. It's been
Okay.
my home.
So
I
16.
mean, I still like New Zealand, but it's just too small. I go back for friends and family, but
Yeah.
there's just so much more happening. And I have family in the UK where I go on a regular basis. My daughter pays for me to babysit on the
Nice.
summer holidays. So last time I got a lot of my book done while I was on the airplane, and um,
So talk to me about that. What's the strategy of your writing? Like, how did you go about doing it? You know, obviously some of our authors speak out their content. I know yours are all individual stories, short stories, just like Chicken Soup for the Soul. You know, talk to me a little bit. And I guess what happened at the end of book one, we realized we had too much content. So that's why we split it into two books, which we're working on book two right now.
yeah.
Um,
Oh, but why? It was my fear that I could never write a whole book. I thought,
uh-huh.
oh,
And then you
one
wrote
long
two.
story.
And then you wrote
Yeah,
two.
yes, but that's why I chose the short stories, and the short stories grew. It's like I think there's a saying, how if you do something 10,000 times,
Yep.
you develop a sort of mastery at it. Whereas prior to doing it, of course, there's always fear. Am I going to do it? And public speaking is one of them. Somehow along the line, gift of the gab,
Yes.
I'm not so afraid anymore. It used to be really awkward, and even just say a couple of introductory sentences. And now, even writing, I noticed when I had to write last week about myself to speak here, it was so much easier than it was a few years ago because I've had enough practice.
You're so right. You know, the more you do something, I mean, my mum has that famous saying, every beginning is hard, you know, and, the more you just repeat something, the more it's like, oh, this is just normal now. It becomes your new normal. And writing, and I was told the same thing when I wrote multiple books. As I was writing more books, the better my editor, because I had the same editor, I think, for my first 5 or 6 books, she kept saying, oh, your writing is improving, you know, like, because also English is not my first language. I don't think it was yours either, was it? No.
No, but the fact is that it's had to be in order
Yeah.
to speak what few words I remember of Cantonese, I have to think in English.
Yes. Yes.
But you still can think in Macedonian, do you?
Oh, I can, but I would need to really consciously do it, right? Because it's now like isn't it true though? We rewire ourselves, even if we've been born a particular way, same as I can never write a book, or I can't speak in front of groups of people, or I can't speak this language, yet you immerse yourself in the process and you surround yourself with the people who are doing that thing you want to do, and all of a sudden you become that thing. And like, yeah, I don't dream in Macedonian, even though I spoke it till I was 14 and I've been back multiple times. Now I consciously really need to think, I think translating back, translating back. My family over there, often the first 2 or 3 days when I go back and I said, what does this mean? How do you say it? Thank God for Google Translate nowadays, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
go.
sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah, I look, travel's just a passion. Recently I was in hospital with aneurysm, and the doctor said it's safer left alone because it's more dangerous to remove it. And he just said, go out and live your life. And that was more reinforcement that I want to live my life with as much passion as I can. And I went to a social event recently, and I always take pride in dressing up. And
Yeah.
I had so many comments from strangers. I had a leather jacket, I had different scarves and a hat on and stuff. It's like young people in their 20s were saying, God, I think you're the best dressed here. And I thought, oh, I was sort of going,
That's
I'm
awesome.
not doing too badly at being 70. Maybe you grow into being who you confidently stand up as
Your
who you are.
authentic self. Yeah, your authentic self. And I've seen you. I mean, you've come to some of my events and we've met in real life, and you always have, a very unique way of the way you dress, and you definitely embody that funky persona, as you like to say. What are some interesting places you've traveled to, like, that are in your book?
Oh, well, I was in Greece, and I was just told, oh, maybe you should come to celebrate Virgin Mary, this pilgrimage. I had to walk for 8 hours,
Wow.
and it was through all sorts of side of the road, and you pass people and food stores and uh, old people, young people, people carrying radios, ghetto blasters,
Yeah,
people
yeah, yeah.
kissing children. And then the last 2 hours was all uphill pebbles,
Yes.
gravel. So when I got up there, it was like being in a trance.
Yeah.
That
Yep.
that that determination. I got there, but and suddenly this beautiful church decorated with all gold and everything. But the worst mistake was that I didn't bring a change of clothes because I was so hot and sweaty from all that walking. I really got chilled. So I was sick for a while and I couldn't even eat. But that experience changed
Amazing.
my life. It means that,
Was that
yes,
recently? Was that recently?
no, that was in 1998.
Yeah,
That's how that started my journey in Greece.
yeah.
And
Uh,
I haven't been back. I long to go back, but I'm also a little bit scared that I'm going to be disappointed because it's evolved and changed so much.
but there'll be new things. There'll be new things that you will experience and have, and looking at it from a different perspective. Sort of 25 years later, it would be, yeah, quite insightful. But I know you still jump on your planes and you head out, and you know how to manage your energy, which is really wonderful. Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about how was the process of publishing a book. Like, we worked together. The whole time, it was it 9 to 12 months that it took
Yeah,
for the.
yeah, it took a while. It took a while, and it took a few edits, and I had a misunderstanding with my first publisher that couldn't understand who I was in my English, and I had to spend a lot of time explaining myself and what meditation, what a guru was, what a hippie was, and it was like a lot of barrier. During that stage, I was thinking, oh, maybe I should give up. It's so hard to be understood, but
Yeah,
I was determined, and I said, look, got to work through this,
yeah,
and the worst thing is typing it out. So I'm still learning about these programs because I'm two or three fingers and
yeah,
doing the editing, and that was the hardest bit. And I even compared it at one stage when I was staying up all hours because I build momentum by doing a big run than little spurts. And I
yeah.
said sometimes it felt like harder than giving birth.
Yeah, well, they often do say it's similar to birthing, a baby, but on a probably more mental, mental
Yeah,
capacity one. But you worked through, the girls in publishing worked through with you bit by bit, chipped
yeah.
away. I mean, some people are more challenged by technology, others less. Some people are more challenged around marketing, promotion, or whatever it is. But you've got the people aspect. You really connect with people really well, and when you're with them, they love hearing all your stories. So that's kind
Well,
of.
I love going to events. Sometimes I feel self-conscious. I've always on and off in the past if I get invited to an event or a party, I'll go
Yeah.
there a bit shyly. I'll be sort of a bit hesitant. But once I start Mandarin and chatting, suddenly
Fine.
somehow I can subconsciously become life and soul of the party for myself.
Yeah, I love it.
And
Hey,
that means I can be
Vivi's
truly.
Vivi's asking to tell us about living off the grid in New Zealand.
Oh yes, right. Yeah, I was sort of naive, you know. I fell in love with a man who wanted to live in the land. I didn't even really understood what being a hippie was, you know.
Uh,
City girl.
yeah.
And I had to learn how to survive without electricity for the first 14 years of my kids' lives. I had my
Wow.
first child just before I was um, 21, so I was 20 for about 3 months, and then my second child at 23. And not having electricity, I
Wow.
don't know if you can explain it until you've had that experience, because having a power cut's pretty hard for some people, isn't it?
Yeah, for a few hours or one evening, let alone and so New Zealand, what part of New Zealand?
Oh, it's on the west coast,
West Coast.
on between two towns, Westport and Greymouth, and I was close to an area called Punakaiki where pancake rocks, that
Yeah,
rocks are like little shaped pancakes. And
yeah,
it's amazing on a clear day sometimes you can see rainbows if it's been raining through the
yeah.
above the pancake rocks. I was back there last year. It's amazing experience going back, but I realized and one of my stories I wrote while I was there was that is about going backwards in order to move forwards, because after spending 18 years there
Wow.
and going back there, a different person, like a published writer, and the house that was mine and yeah, is now my daughter's, and how she sort of brought her sister out and how she lived was, and then learning more about myself and understanding my daughter and seeing her become her father. That was a interesting experience. You know how you have children that
Yeah.
follows one parent's more than the other? And
Yep.
I just got so many habits that I just, I was surprised and shocked. And then other habits that she was like me as well. And I could see
So does she
sometimes.
still live there? One of your daughters still lives there?
Oh yeah, she went back. She's committed
Wow.
to being there.
And,
After many years, she's migrated back down there. It's her place now. She owns it outright.
and there's still no electricity.
Oh no. That came on after
Ah, okay.
14 years I was there. So I left there about 2 years after electricity. And a lot of my women friends are saying, look, you've worked so hard to get this. Can you walk out? I said, yeah. Material things aren't everything, you know? I
Wow.
Yeah, it's like I used to love cooking, and my partner, the children's dad, was always inviting people. So I said, look, you buy me a dishwasher. I,
Yes.
I'm not going to put up with dishes there because he wasn't that keen.
Yes.
And it arrived, it sat there unconnected. I
Because
left 2
there was
years.
no power.
Yeah, no, there was power, but it just wasn't connected, Prior to that, we used a generator, but he had the cheekiness to present me the bill with connecting it 2 years after I left him. I don't know. I just laughed. And it was a joke, but I think sometimes men can feel a bit hurt when you're the one that do the
Yeah.
leaving.
Yeah.
They'll find it, ways to try and get back. And I just said, no way I'm going to pay for connecting of that dishwasher when I'm not there, considering the fact I had to wait so many years for it. And but hey, that's still, he was still like the love of my life. I mean, it doesn't mean when you separate with somebody, my theory is that if you do love them, you always love them, but you just shelve it in a different pocket, you know. You don't
Yes. Yeah, that's
It's
beautiful.
learning how to love without giving all yourself as well. You could sort of walk away. And if I haven't, I reckon if I stayed, a lot of my women friends have passed away with cancer or something, because they weren't able to live their life truly for themselves. They put, the family, everything, One of my biggest lessons was my best friend going back to see her 2 or 3 years after I left, and she was on the verge of passing away with cancer, and she still tried to work in her that breathing thing that you walk around with, and she was worried about, how the kids are gonna survive with, would her husband remember to, give them their pocket money and all that. I just thought, I just couldn't help it. I said to my friend Barbara, I said, I think if you left when I did, you wouldn't be in this position now. And it was a really hard statement to make to a dear friend, but sometimes you just got to say something like that because it came from the heart.
Yeah.
To me, it was really important that if an environment and situation isn't right and you can't change it to make it right and it's hurting you, the best thing is to get out of it. And I went through a lot of period when my child blamed me for abandoning her because I sent her back to my father. She was too much of a handful for me.
Right.
I when she was little, one of my neighbours used to say she was a whole motorbike gang rolled into one. Need to lock her in the wardrobe, throw away the keys. She doesn't, I've got lots of stories like that I will slip in here and there, but she doesn't like, she doesn't like me utilizing that. And I said, look, these are my words and my story. Much
Right.
as I love you, you can't dominate how I tell my stories.
I love it. Well, let's share where people can get access to all your different stories. I've pulled up the Amazon page where you can go ahead and get a copy of Chuping's book, Dim Sum Stories from the Heart, and you've got it there available. Just look up either Chuping Yu, her name, or just Dim Sum Stories from the Heart, and it'll pop up on your Amazon search, and then you can go ahead and read them, and then I guess wait for the sequel to come out, which will be either late this year or early next year. Working through. We're still working diligently on Chuping, making, moving her through each of the steps. So I can't wait to do another interview and share some more interesting stories from that part of who you are. But there's so much to learn from people's stories, I believe. Really when we tell stories is where we can really make a point about something or teach something, words of wisdom, just like, as you said, like chicken soup from the soul, those stories are just like everyday stories, but then there's this big point that they make. And that's what I guess that's exactly what your intention with this was, right?
Yep.
Thank you so much, Chuping, for
Okay.
joining me this morning. As I said, I've been waiting a while, and Lindy's just posted the link to Amazon, so that's good. If you're obviously listening to this as a podcast, then just go to and look it up yourself. And thank you for those who've been sending some comments. Sarah's been there, Vivi, Julie, Lindy, a few people watching there and I'm sure they'll be throughout the day. So if you have any comments or questions for us, just post them below this live and we'll get back to you. But for now, everybody, thank you, Chuping. Have a great week and go out there and smash it out. Bye,
Thank
guys.
you. Bye.